Howdy y'all and welcome, hope everybody's doing well out there so far. As you can see here on the weather alert map, we get anything from high wind watches to winter weather advisories to even winter storm warnings here along the Appalachians. And as we take a look at the wording here, you can see well above average temperatures will prevail across the plains and west coast this week. We'll get into that here in a little bit. While a cold front will bring Arctic air to the south and east coast Thursday and Friday. Lake effect snow is forecast downwind of the Great Lakes through Thursday along and behind the Arctic front, as well as mountain snow across the southern Appalachians. And as we see here, there's also a freeze watch down here down south, so there could be some falling iguanas as well. But first, let's go ahead and click on one of these alerts here. We can see the key messages, and hopefully y'all can read this. If not, then I'll go ahead and click on it here and zoom in. But we can see that rain is going to be changing over the snow this evening, mainly in the higher elevations. Most areas will see little to no snow accumulations. Highest accumulations will be across the East Tennessee mountains. 2 to 4 inches expected between 2,000 to 4,000 feet, and of course 4 to 8 or even higher snow totals will be expected across the higher peaks. And of course, impacts include hazardous travel across the higher elevations. Obviously, even light snow accumulations could lead to slick road conditions tonight and into Thursday morning across some valley locations, which I think they've already closed some roads over there in East Tennessee. Of course, if there's even a hint at any winter weather, they close the roads over there, which I don't blame them. But here's a view of what is now called Kuohi, formerly called Klingman's Dome, which I guess you can call it either or. But if you can see that not much going on up there right now, but of course expected to change later tonight. As we can see here, as we push this forward, we're going to be expecting some significant snowfall as we head into the late evening and overnight hours tonight. Of course, lake effect snow tonight here in Indiana and Michigan, and especially up here by Buffalo. Rain transitioning over into snow here in upstate New York, where it finally gets out. And then another round of snow is going to impact us here in the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes again as we head into this weekend. So there could be back-to-back snowstorms here in the Great Lakes and here in the Appalachians. So definitely be prepared for that, as we could be getting in on roughly, I would say, 5 to 10 inches here along Lake Michigan and here near Buffalo. Of course, local hair melts going to be possible, of course. Surrounding that's, of course, going to be right around 2 to 4 inches. And as we zoom in here to the Smoky Mountains, roughly, I would say, probably 5 to 10 inches in the higher elevations. And of course, in the valleys, of course, hardly no snowfall, so definitely be aware of this if you live down there. As there's already been some road closures, US 441 and Newfound Gap Road is going to be closing at 4 o'clock today. By the time this video is uploaded, the road will be closed. So definitely going to be some very treacherous travel conditions down there, so definitely be prepared for that. Now, of course, I did not create a graphic yet, but of course, I would probably go ahead and issue a bread and milk warning if you live down there in Sevier County and the Smoky Mountains and really anywhere along the Appalachians, Great Lakes, and upstate New York near Buffalo area. I would probably go ahead and issue a bread and milk warning for y'all. And for those who are wondering how to prepare for winter weather, here's how you prepare for it. Of course, warm blankets, gloves, and socks. If you have to travel, then please be careful. If you don't, then great. But here is some key ways to prepare for this upcoming winter storm if you live in the Appalachians, Great Lakes, and upstate New York. Now, shifting gears here to the Climate Prediction Center's INSO Outlook. I know that I did cover this in my January Outlook, but they did update it on January 8th here. La Nina is expected to persist, followed by a 75% chance of a transition to ENSO neutral all the way through March. ENSO neutral is likely through at least late spring of this year, and potentially we could be coming into El Nino as we head into summertime. And in my February Outlook video here at the end of this month, I will be discussing how transition from La Nina to ENSO neutral to El Nino could influence our severe weather and even summertime weather patterns, so stay tuned for that. Now on to what we could expect for the next couple of weeks. Here is the main hazards of what we could expect for the next couple of weeks, which is mainly heavy precipitation here from the Mid-South all the way up here into the Ohio Valley. Heavy precipitation from the 23rd into the 24th time frame. So let's go ahead and get into the precipitation. Then we'll get into this high wind watch, which we could be dealing with all the way through Friday evening. So to do that, we're going to take a look at the GFS. Now keep in mind, anything over a week out is virtually impossible to forecast, so definitely please take this forecast with a grain of salt. Now, of course, we got some heavy snowfall occurring today here in the Great Lakes, upstate New York near Buffalo, and here in the southern Appalachians. And then another round's going to be rolling through as we head into Friday before we're just going to be done with that. And then we're going to be dealing with some lake effect snow and even some snow here in the mid-Atlantic regions before we finally get a little bit of a break, and we could be just dealing with some pesky lake effect snow and some bitterly cold air as well. As you can see, the millibars here could be dealing with some very cold conditions here out east. We'll get into the temperatures here in a little bit though, but start off next week, looks like we could be dealing with some just pesky lake effect snow and bitterly cold air, and could be relatively quiet at least up until late next week, where we could be dealing with some potential flooding and severe weather here in the deep south again, and some snowfall again here in the southern Appalachians, and just some pesky snow showers here in the mid-Atlantic, and some icing as well here in Virginia. And it's looking like up here in the northern plain to the Pacific Northwest could be dealing with some pesky snow showers before another system could be heading our way here out east, which could dump a lot of heavy rainfall and flooding and potential severe weather again here to the deep south, and a potential major winter storm. Now, the key word there is potential, and it will change. We are well over 200 some hours out. Take this with a grain of salt, but could be dealing with another winter storm here in the Great Lakes, Northeast, and potentially here in the Ohio Valley. Now, the snow could head further south or further north, it just depends. But of course, we have the typical I-70 cutoff here. Rain in southern Indiana, snow in northern Indiana, of course. So this will change between now and then. Keep that in mind. But it's looking like we could be dealing with system after system here at the end of the month, as we see here 300 some hours out. But we can see another major snowstorm. Now, this one's a little bit more concerning. This one's been a little bit more consistent as well. Now, this one's a little bit more concerning as it has been more consistent. Models have been showing this one over and over and over again, so this might happen, y'all. But again, might not happen in the first place as well, as it is, again, over 200 some hours out. But if it does happen, could be dealing with some significant snow totals here in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, potentially here along Buffalo area. And some significant icing here in southern Indiana, northwest Kentucky, and here in western Tennessee. But of course, can will change between now and then. Take this with a grain of salt, like I keep saying. But it's looking like pretty much we could be dealing with some back-to-back snowstorms here as we head towards the end of the month, and a very active weather pattern at that, which, as you saw in the thumbnail, pretty spot on with that. So buckle up for what could be a very active weather pattern. And before we get into the Climate Prediction Center's guidance and how much snowfall will be coming in on and rainfall as well as we head towards the end of the month, let's go ahead and get into this high wind watch, which could be in effect all the way through, hopefully y'all can see this, through Friday evening. And as we can see, as we head into Friday morning, you can see why they issued the wind watch that they did, which could be upgraded into a high wind warning. Could be dealing with upwards of 60 to some areas getting in on 70 to 80 mile-an-hour wind gusts. So it's going to be persisting all the way through Saturday before it finally diminishes and gets out of y'all's hair. So buckle up for the high winds over there. It could be dealing with some power outages and just some very dangerous travel conditions out there. So definitely be aware of that. And as we can see, going to be dealing with some high winds all the way through the end of the month here out in the Rockies. So definitely be aware of that. On top of some pretty significant snowfalls, there's a slight risk for heavy snowfall from the 22nd through the 27th, all the way from the Rockies up here into the north central plains, to the Great Lakes, and parts of Buffalo and parts of the Northeast as well. And of course, there's a moderate risk for some heavy rainfall here in the Mid-South and Ohio Valley regions from the 23rd into the 24th. And of course, surrounding that's a slight risk through the 25th. So definitely going to be dealing with some pretty significant weather here through the end of the month, with some heavy rainfall here out east and some snowfall here in the northern half of the country. And as we take a look at who will get in on the jackpot of rain, we can see very clearly here who will get in on the jackpot, which is mainly here out east from Texas all the way up here into Pennsylvania and parts of New York. Now keep in mind, some of this will be snowfall, so definitely keep that in mind. And of course, here in the Pacific Northwest, y'all are starting to dry out from that atmospheric river. And as we zoom in here, we can see roughly right around upwards of 2 inches of rainfall here. So roughly 1 to 3, I would say, from Texas up here into West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania. And as we take a look out west, we can see not much rain going on out there, which is actually some good news. Y'all do need a break from the rain after coming in on such dreary conditions from the atmospheric river. And I know up in Alaska, by the way, sort of a side note here, I know y'all came in on a lot of snowfall here lately, and then y'all came in on an atmospheric river, which dumped a lot of rainfall, and it's just leaving a big old mess up there. Now on to the snow totals, as it has been such a quiet winter so far. Winter's not over yet, y'all. The groundhog hasn't predicted whether or not we'll be in 6 more weeks of winter or early spring, but we can see where the jackpot of snow is going to be at, mainly up here in upstate New York near Buffalo, where the jackpot of snow is going to be at, and up here along the Great Lakes, the Rockies, typical snow amounts up there, and even up here in the Appalachians. And as I zoom in here, we can see where the jackpot's going to be at, roughly right around 5 to 10 inches up here in upstate New York and along the Great Lakes. Appalachian Mountains are going to be coming in on a lot of snowfall as well for the next couple of weeks, as there could be system after system rolling through. And we can see here in Indiana and Ohio and Illinois, not much snowfall at all for the next couple of weeks, although the models are showing a couple concerning snowstorms. So definitely take that for what it is. Might not happen in the first place, but of course, if it does happen, I'll be keeping my eye on it for y'all, keeping track of it. So here's where the jackpot of snow is going to be at here out east for the next couple of weeks, and of course out in the western part of the country, here's where the snowfall is going to be at. So good for the ski resorts if you have any out there along the Rocky Mountain. And as we take a look at the precipitation for the next couple of weeks, at least the 6 to 10 day precipitation out by the Climate Prediction Center, we can see much of the country is heading into an above average precipitation trend, except for down here in the southeast and the Pacific Northwest. And Alaska, you can see the southern half of Alaska is starting to dry out, but the northern half of Alaska is going to be well above average. And Hawaii, you're going to be above average as well. Next 8 to 14 days as we head towards the end of the month, it's looking like much of the country is going to be remaining above average, and it's looking like here in the mid-south, all the way up into the Ohio Valley, going to be well above average, as we could be dealing with system after system, which could bring heavy rainfall down here to the south and heavy snowfall up here to the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and potentially in the Northeast as well. I'll be keeping my eye on those storm systems as we get closer to the end of the month. Hard to believe we're already at the middle of January already. This year's already starting to fly by, y'all. But of course, on to the temperatures, as it has been relatively warm here as of late. And of course, as you saw in the thumbnail, we could be coming in on what's called another Arctic invasion potentially. Let's go ahead and get into that. So you can see today, going to be really warm down here in Texas. Of course, y'all probably think that's very chilly. 70 degrees is chilly for y'all down there, which I think is silly, but I don't blame y'all, I guess. Y'all come in on usually 80s and 90s this time of year, but we can see today it's going to be very, very, very cold out there for much of us, as this cold front rolls through and brings lots of snow to the upper Great Lakes, upstate New York and Northeast, and the southern Appalachians. So definitely brace for the cold air tonight and into tomorrow night. And it's just looking to just remain cold for a while, unless you live down here in the very far southeast and down here by southern Texas and along the Gulf Coast as well. Really, it's just looking like much of the country is just going to be dealing with those negative temperatures, especially up here in the upper Midwest. Are just going to be dealing with negative temperatures all the way through the end of next week, and it's not looking like we're going to get any relief anytime soon, unless you live down here in the south central plains and the deep south. I don't think we're going to be getting any relief, at least until we head into the end of the month. And the reason why is because of something we haven't taken a look at in quite some time, which is the 500 millibar height anomaly map, which is basically what determines our troughing and ridging patterns. The reds here is the ridge, the blue is the trough. Troughs usually associated with bad weather. Ridges are usually associated with good weather in most cases. We can see, of course, we'll be dealing with a trough here out east and ridge out west. Dry conditions out west and very dreary conditions here out east, which could result in some very chilly conditions as well. Then another system's going to be rolling through, and then another system's going to be rolling through. So back to back to back systems rolling through and dropping those temperatures down drastically before we're going to be coming into a stable weather pattern as we head into the end of the month potentially. So we just got to get it past the next couple of weeks, and I think as we head towards February, I think we could be heading into a quiet weather pattern, which could mean warmer than normal temperatures potentially. So take that for what it is, though. Canada will change. And really, it's been a while since I've taken a look at the QBO and the stratospheric winds, so bear with me on this. But as we take a look at the QBO, we can see that we are going to be dealing with some sudden stratospheric warming up here in the northern hemisphere, which could result in a breakdown of the polar vortex. Could mean that we could be dealing with that for the next couple of weeks. As I did show y'all earlier, we could be dealing with some negative temperatures here in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, which this is the reason why, is because the polar vortex is going to get disrupted again. We're dealing with that as we head towards the end of the month. So prepare for the cold air and prepare for back-to-back snowstorms, unfortunately. And as I show y'all the feels like temperatures as we head into the next couple of weeks, we're dealing with high winds through Friday evening, and then here comes the Arctic air, y'all. See the feels like temperatures all the way down into negative 20 degrees up here near North Dakota, so here comes old man winter, y'all. It's not over yet, unfortunately. It's looking to stick around for quite a while as well, so definitely prepare for this for the next couple of weeks. I think we could be coming in on a break as we head into February, though, so take that for what it is. Could be coming in on a very wild ride for the next couple of weeks. And we can see the Climate Prediction Center has issued a slight risk for hazardous temperatures from the 22nd through the 27th here in the northern part of the country. Because of those negative temperatures, that's going to be stretching its way down, as well as up here in the northeast on the 21st. And as we take a look at the Climate Prediction Center, we don't need this to tell us it's going to be cold, because it is. We can see that the eastern part of the country is going to be dealing with some well below average temperatures, especially up here in the Great Lakes and the northeast. We're dealing with some above average temperatures though here in the southwest, although it's going to be a little chilly. Be above normal for this time of year. Next 8 to 14 days could be heading into a slight warm up here down here in the southern half of the country as we head towards February, but really for much of the country, at least here in the northern half, it's going to be well below average. But I think we could be heading into a little bit of a break as we head into February. I think February is going to be a little bit warmer than normal and a little bit quiet as well, but of course really we can't forecast anything over a week out, so definitely take that with a grain of salt. And we really have to wait until the groundhog predicts the weather to really determine what we could expect. Now in summary, what would I expect for the next couple of weeks is basically, I think as we head towards the weekend, could be dealing with some significant snowfall here in the upper Great Lakes, northeast and southern Appalachians. Could be dealing with some snowfall here on Sunday here in the mid-Atlantic and southeast, so definitely be aware of that. And we could be dealing with some pesky lake effect snow as we head into the beginning of next week here in the northeast, Great Lakes, and potentially here in the upper Midwest as well. And then round 1 of 2 could be possible as we head into late next week and into the weekend, so I'll be definitely keeping my eye on this. Could be doing some significant flooding down south and a big snowstorm potentially here in the northeast and upper Midwest. And then another round comes through as we head towards the end of the month. So basically back-to-back snowstorms could be possible as we head towards the middle and end of the month before we could be coming into a quiet weather pattern as we inch closer to February. Now, what about temperatures? Well, it's looking like we could be dealing with some very frigid air as we head into this weekend, and it's looking to actually stick around unless you live down here in the central and southern plains and here in the southeast potentially. And now there is a freeze watch through Friday down here in Florida. Could be some falling iguanas as well, so keep that in mind. And here's that Arctic air, y'all. Could be dealing with some negative 20 degree temperatures, at least feels like temperatures here in North Dakota as we head into this weekend. And it's just looking to stick around, unfortunately, really, unless you live here in the southern plains. But really for much of the country, it's looking like we're just going to be dealing with that Arctic air all the way through the end of the month, and at least until the 27th time frame, as we could be dealing with some warm air creeping up before it's knocked back down again. So basically, as far as temperatures go, I think we're just going to be dealing with some Arctic air for the next couple of weeks. And also, if you live here in the north central plains, could be doing some high winds through Friday evening before it finally gets out of y'all's hair. So definitely be aware of that. Could be doing some power outages through Saturday morning, potentially up there in the north central plains. But other than that, it's just going to be very, very cold up there. So as we take a look at the snowfall real quick, we can see where the jackpot of snow is going to be at. Like I said earlier, northeast, upper Great Lakes, upper Midwest, Rockies, going to be getting the jackpot, as well as up here in the upper elevations of the Appalachian Mountains. Zoom in here to the eastern part of the country so y'all can see where the jackpot's going to be at, as well as here in the western part of the country. Zoom back out here and show you all the precipitation of where the jackpot's going to be at. Mainly here from Texas into West Virginia is where the jackpot rain's going to be at. We can see roughly 1 to 3 inches possible within this area here. And of course, out in the western part of the country, y'all going to finally dry out there finally. And mainly, the rain risk for the next couple weeks y'all got to worry about here is heavy precipitation out east, on top of some heavy snowfall here in the northern half of the country. So basically, back-to-back snowstorms that we got to keep our eye on top of some very, very frigid airs we head towards the end of the month. And I'll be keeping my eye on those two storm systems, as of course that's subject to change, so definitely keep y'all informed on that. And I'll definitely keep y'all informed on the weather for the playoff games. If y'all are heading to any playoff games this weekend, I'll be keeping y'all informed on what the weather could look like for that as well. So I hope y'all got a lot out of this video. If you did, please make sure you hit that like and share button so more folks are informed about the weather. Also, leave me some feedback in the comment section down below, as any feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informative content in the future. And also, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button down below. So here in Wins Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. So basically, like I said earlier, we'll be doing some very frigid air as we head towards the end of the month, but I think February could be quiet and potentially warmer than normal. Of course, that can and will change. And of course, gotta keep an eye on a couple concerning storm systems, as we could be dealing with some flooding and significant snowfall through the end of the month. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all y'all for watching. Stay warm, stay safe, and until next time, never stop forecasting.